Hi, in this video, today I'm going to show you how to put together the paw box, which is an SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So first I just want to show you a few panels. This is for the lid. You can use the optional acrylic cut for the front, or you can have an open one like this, so you don't have to put that acrylic piece on. And this is how it opens. So this is a finished box. So this is the, we're going to put that aside. And that's part of the lid as well as the thinner cut pieces. So now that we have those aside, we're going to put together the actual bottom portion of the box. So kind of cut away. I had to redo this part of the video for some reason. It didn't turn out. So it's a little bit different color paper, but the same concept. So we're going to go ahead and fold on the score lines, and make sure you fold the other way as well for a valley fold, because you see how it's going to curve around there. So it's going to have to curl around there. So make sure you have a pretty good crease. I know it will look a little funky after you fold it a while, but the better the crease, the sharper the crease, the better for you when it comes to putting it together. So now we're just going to curl each kind of section because everything's rounded, and with round designs, they're not the simplest sometimes to put together. So I did my best to put that together, that, you know, to basically make sure this is doable, but I wanted it to be round and not kind of a jagged form like you see some of my other roundish items, 3D items. So you can see that's just going to go around like that. So we just curled it with our hands. And then we're going to go ahead and fold down the tabs. And you see this is how it's going to fit. Just giving you an idea before you put it together. So also crease back your tabs as well. You may not have seen that. So first we want to do is anchor one tab. So I'm anchoring one tab, and the tab fold, as you can see, should be in that edge. So we're starting with the left edge and just doing the bottom curve. So you can see I'm getting as close as possible, making sure that the fold of that first tab is aligned to that little kind of corner, inset corner piece. So you could do partial or all of them. So we're just going to add glue to these little tabs. A little fine tip applicator helps. I'm not doing the whole piece for a reason, because with these curves it's easier to not put the entire piece together first. Make sure once you put glue on those bottom tabs that you fold them up so the glue doesn't get on your table. And I kind of lift up that little bottom panel as I curl it around. So I'm just trying to get it somewhat fit in first before I start applying pressure to all the tabs. And I'll start from where I anchored. And you can start from the other side as well, but the most important part is making sure that on the other side that you could fold back that tab, but you want to make sure where that tab folds is aligned to that indentation, so you can see what it looks like on the back. So if you need to pause this video, you can. It's not really sped up that much. It's sped up a little bit, but you can see I should have done that earlier. That helps you. We're just loosening it up so it's easier to get the next part glued on. So this is a method of how you can put together the boxes. The top I'm going to put together a little bit differently. So if you want to watch the whole video before you do it, you might like the way I put the top together, or you might like this method for the top. I'll tell you later. I'll make sure you have the tabs on the right side. I'll tell you later why I didn't do the top this way, and I'll explain it when I do the top. Just had to get my glue situated. And I was having some focusing issues with my camera this day, so I do apologize. You'll see that intermittently. So now we already curled this piece. Make sure your tabs are down. And we're going to line up that edge of that piece to the inside of that tab fold. And line it up best you can because we want it sitting in that indentation so it goes around the box fine. So there's a couple ways to do this. You can do just each round section at a time, which you're going to see me do. I'll do the middle, or you can do multiples. If you have fast drying glue, you might want to do individuals. And the way the individuals work, that we put the glue on these tabs, right? And then when you kind of flip it upside down, you're rounding it just like we did that first time. And I always try to move around so you can see it with the camera. Kind of lift it up a little bit as you do it. And then wherever that fold is, that valley fold, you want it to seat it in there, in the indentation on the panel. So that's the biggest thing. So if it's a little bit off on the bottom with the tabs, I wouldn't worry about it too much. The thing that's going to maintain the shape on rounded boxes like this, even though it seems simple, it's the reason why a lot of us don't make a lot of round boxes like this, because it can get difficult to assemble. Because it really, there are so many different possibilities. If your tab's a little bit glued away from the edge, if you just don't start at the right place, like the indentations, then it will be a little bit off. So you just do the best you can, and there's a give in the lid, so there's plenty of space for the lid once you put it on. So I won't worry about that. The biggest thing, as you see again here, is trying to get that valley fold in that little indentation. And you can see now why we pre-curled the paper. If this were just a circle, we'd just have you do it all at once. But because there's multiple curves in it, we want to make sure that you are able to get all the indentations in the right place where the folds, where the valley folds are for the side panel. Make sure they're sitting in the right place. So you want to just pay careful attention to that. But this is a pretty simple way of putting on a panel like this. We just don't want to do it we didn't do it on the top that way because the other way, which is a little bit more tedious, which you'll see, will hide the tabs better. So if you can see, things are kind of pulling out for me because I did 2 at a time. So you just kind of have to go around and push in the side and make sure that that panel edge lines up to the tab folds of each of the sections. Then you can see that's what it looks like on the bottom. And the last thing you do is to glue on that tab. It might not match exactly, but try to match it exactly. This is where you're just a little bit off, you know, because this is all technically measured. If you're just a little bit off, it could feel off. And then you can kind of push in those little, if they're not really folded well, the shape won't maintain. And then now we included a second panel, which is the same exact size, to glue onto the back to hide all those tabs. So you can go ahead and add glue around the edges. And just be a light touch, if depending on the kind of glue you have, it could bleed through, so just know how much glue to use for yourself. That takes time. It depends, you know, you get used to the glue you use. Then we go ahead and put that back panel on with the texture side down if you're using textured paper like I am, which is American Crafts textured paper is almost exclusively what I use. Once I have it all lined up, you see I was a little off. It's not exact because, of course, it creates a little bit more bulk on the edges. You can kind of see the tabs on the edges. But I can just flip it around and use my fingers to apply pressure, or a blunt tool. Like oftentimes I use a wooden chopstick. So I'm just going around the edges. You want to do that because it'll help adhere it around the edges and in the middle, of course, but to get it closer so it doesn't pull apart at the bottom. That's just a bit of patience. And that's going to be the difference. We're not going to do that for the top part. So for the actual lid, we're going to assemble it similarly, but the only difference is we're going to glue the tabs underneath the panel. So, but first we want to curl them, just like we did for the bottom part of the box. You see your finger, I'm just using my fingers to kind of burnish it to create a bit of a curve. And the same thing with the, so these are thinner, because of course the box is deeper, higher than the lid is. Then we go ahead and curve each of the sections. So the difference here is if you put them on the top like the other method, we're just going to anchor it underneath, but here we need to fold that back. But if you put it on the top, you'd be able to see the edges of all the tabs. Like the method we did on the bottom, but that's the bottom of the box. So let's try to make one part easier, and the top part should be cleaner, but it takes a little bit longer. Once you start doing it, it gets easier because your fingers kind of automatically start guiding, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. And at one point I am going to just let you watch the process because it's the same for all sections. So we're going to anchor a tab just like we did earlier. So we're going to anchor it. We're making sure that that tab fold there is aligned to that indentation, that right indentation. That's really important to get it as close or a little bit above, just slightly, not above, below that indentation. You want to line it up because we need to be able to curve that around to make that curved lid side. So I know we're having a little bit of focus issues, which I had this round. I had recorded 4 videos and they all had just some focusing issues. So I have some modifications. I didn't realize that it was doing that. So I apologize. So we're going to add glue to not all of them. And the reason is that I have fast drying glue and it might dry up before I get to them. So you want to glue them one tab at a time. So what I'm doing is I'm turning it around, making sure that that edge, that tab fold edge for the actual lid side is lined up to the edge of the panel. And then I'm applying the pressure to each of the tabs as I go around. So it's not as fast as the first method, but it's not that difficult once you start doing it. It's just a different method. So I'm kind of pushing them down. That helps you with this one. Is just make sure they're pushed down so when you add glue to them, they don't, and you slide them underneath that the glue doesn't get on the top like by hitting the edge. So I did about half and half of the tabs. Then continue to go around. And you want to make sure you're going tab to tab. And then I have a little wet paper towel that's slightly damp to wipe away any excess. Or I do it with my finger and then wipe my finger on the paper. We don't want glue excess because the side's going to show. We'll sew at the top because we only have a panel. So you don't want any, you really are trying not to get any glue visible. And you could always flip it over and apply pressure like this as well. If there's like minor gaps, don't worry about it. The shape's going to be there. This is not perfection. We're not a machine, we're a crafter. So we're going to go ahead and continue by adding that next strip and make sure that the tabs are, I always do this, the tabs need to be up, not down. So I'm showing you this. I could have edited this out, but I chose not to. So you could see that, you know, everybody's human. I'm sure one of us has done this before. I do it all the time. So we're lining that up, lining that edge up to the tab fold, or like as close to the tab fold you can get without overlapping it. Make sure that's good and secure before you go on to the next part. So we'll start, I'm just making sure it's secure before I move on. I kind of switched glues because this is a smaller tip. Actually, I didn't switch glues. Psych. When you have multiple glue bottles next to you. So I'm still using Scotch Quick Dry tacky. So this is where it kind of gets tricky. You just have to make sure you place that first one after like a little indentation. Place that first one carefully and trying to line it up. And you can feel with your finger like my thumb's there, so I can know how far I need to push the tab out. So we're trying to line that tab edge. Now it's not obviously circular. So you're just trying to match it up. And then make sure that when you get to an indentation that your tab fold on the side aligns with the indentation. And then you just continue. And the only thing to add with this, after we're done, the tabs will show inside. If you're terribly bothered by that, you could always create, just make another top panel. It's not going to fit exactly inside. You might have to just shrink it by like 99% or something like that. But if you do that, the holes won't match. But most people don't care. It's a gift box. Even if you see the tabs, what's the difference? So, I mean, if it bothers somebody really, really a lot, then they can email me. So I'm going to let you watch the rest of this as I assemble it, and I'll be back. So now that we've closed the side up, we were just trying to apply additional pressure around the edges to make sure it was nice and flush. And then I was just cleaning up with a little glue. Make sure I didn't have any glue leakage. Then the other thing I like to do is that helps not clean it. You kind of hide the edges a little bit by inking, or you could use distress ink, or I'm going to use a color box chalk ink. I'm using charcoal for this one. And then I'm just going around the edges, and what that helps do is that if you have any imperfections, which you're going to have them, there's going to be like slight little gaps because of the way that you glue it on. It kind of helps to give it kind of to pull it together, and then kind of quote unquote hides it a little bit. And I did that on the bottom as well. And it does take if for some reason it's kind of shaped weird, it's just because your indentations are off a little bit. So that's what's so important about getting a really crisp fold when you put them together. So we also have a solid front. If for some reason you don't want a see-through one, you could use a solid and then use the panel. So that's in the extra stuff folder on the download after you unzip it. And then the only other thing we need to do is add the top little paw panel, which I had embossed with the kind of a dots embossing folder. And if you don't want to use acrylic, you don't have to, but what you want to do if you do use it is we'll just glue it to the back side of the panel, the little paw panel that we add. So this is a great box for like little homemade treats or bought store treats for maybe a gift for a dog for either Christmas, or maybe a new dog gift because somebody just got a dog, or it could be for I don't know if you want to make these for a charity, but because you know a lot of charity dog fundraising or like adoption agencies sell things, they could put little treats in it. I think this is a bit too much for that. Little treat boxes for that. Maybe I'll have to make simpler ones just for that purpose. But once we get that glued on, you can see, just be careful when you're dealing with acrylic or that clear, anything acrylic, or I use transparency sheets. You want to make sure that the glue's away from the clear acrylic. So you can see I was a little bit close in a couple areas there. But now I'm just going to line that up, make sure that the openings line up before I really apply pressure. Get it set and moved around. If it's a little bit off, which mine is just a little bit off, that's fine. But here I'm just dabbing the glue because I had one little piece that kind of leaked in. Otherwise, if you don't drag it across, else it'll create like a line. It's not pretty. So it's one reason I don't use a lot of acrylics or anything, because I'm messy with my glues. So that's it. It's really not that big of a deal other than the curves that are required to put it together. It gets easier with time. But this is if it's your first time doing a box like this, just know it'll get easier. And here's the other version. So I hope this comes in handy for a couple people. I've been meaning to do it for a very long time, and there it is. Thanks for watching.